Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Saturday, May 19th, 2018, 8:20 Central Daylight Time. And I just wanted to spend a little time. I know I haven't been out here in a little while. Been busy contemplating what comes next. I do know that a bit of housekeeping I'd like to take care of before I start what I really want to talk about today. There's a couple of things that are going on. The first one is that I will be doing in the next couple of days. I'll have some concluding thoughts on trauma and what happens with it and how it affects people. Well, more specifically, sharing from my own experience with it as to what it is that I feel that trauma is and how to move forward and the things that need to happen to engage life at its fullest. That's point number one. The second thing, and this one is pretty exciting to me anyway. I just accepted an invitation to speak at a I'm not quite sure what type of service it is, but I'm actually going to be, I've been offered and accepted an opportunity to break open the bread of life at St. Paul Church of God in Christ, 2661 North 53rd Street, Milwaukee, on June the 3rd at 4 o'clock. For those of you that live here locally, if you're able to attend, would be greatly appreciated. And for those of you that follow from a very great distance, I would suggest that you go out and look up St. Paul MKE. I believe that's the Facebook handle that they use, and you'll be able to watch that service and to hear that message live on June the 3rd. As always with the stuff that I do, Once Wayward Brethren, the thing is that again, if there's anything that you need to discuss or you feel like talking, you need to be heard, you can reach me and reach the ministry at 414-982-5604. Again, that's 414-982-5604. So I just wanted to give that bit of housekeeping stuff to you all as I get ready to delve into what I really want to talk about. It has gotten to the place now where it seems like we are dealing with some kind of tragedy as far as shootings are concerned, mass shootings, mass killings. Seems to me like it's happening more and more frequently. We just had the shooting at Santa Fe High School outside of Houston, and then there was another one that took place I want to say yesterday afternoon or this morning, one or the other, but there was another mass shooting today. It's gotten to the place now where we need to start actually looking at and talking about what it is that's actually going on. I don't think that people really understand or really have come to grips with what has happened and what is happening. I will say that my personal opinion is that the only place that assault weapons belong is on a military base. But I, in no way, shape, or form, don't think that anybody should have their Second Amendment rights taken away, saying that they can't own a weapon for defense of their home or what have you. I get that. We're too busy shaking our hands and our fists at the symptom rather than looking at the problem. And the assault weapons, again, like I said, those are weapons of war. I spent the first 7 of my adult years in the United States Army learning how to handle an assault weapon. So I understand the implication of having assault weapons, and assault weapons should not be sold or weapons that can be easily modified into assault weapons should not be sold to the general public. Those weapons are best used in the hands of soldiers, and they are best used in those that are those that have been that are in the military and trained in how to use them. That's that particular point. But again, if you notice what I said was that is a symptom and not the problem. I want to and this is my personal opinion, I want to take the time right now to say that, in my personal opinion, what has happened is we have gotten away from having real families. And because of the fact that we have gotten away from having real families, we have now have a group of young people who have grown up with Xbox, with PS1, and what have you, but don't have the socialization skills to get along with other people. And because of that, it presents a problem. Now, I realize that the way that we live has deteriorated a great deal. I remember growing up that even though my mother and father divorced when I was 5 years old, that the vast majority of everybody in my neighborhood had both mother and father at home. Father went out to work and mother was at home, and the kids were being raised. Not only were the kids being raised, but they were being socialized. We didn't sit inside the house. We were told to go outside. We needed to learn how to interact with other people. And those skills seem to be lacking to a great extent in this particular generation. They spend more time on cell phones. They spend more time on computers. They spend more time indoors and looking at a screen, being taught whatever it is that they happen to be taught, without actually having an opportunity to interact with other people. One of the things that came out of Santa Fe is that this young man, out of the Santa Fe incident, was that this young man, quote unquote, was bullied. I'm really not unsensitive to this stuff. But the thing is that growing up, we talked about each other all the time. We understood, and I'm going to say it this way, we understood that way back in the day, that if they talked about Jesus, they were going to talk about me too. So the thing is that I have to understand that there's some things that I needed to learn. Well, some things that I needed to learn. I needed to have a tougher skin. I needed to be able to speak up for myself. Well, these young people nowadays, they don't speak up for themselves. And to be honest about it, a lot of them, and I'm just going to put it out there, because I happen to come from a generation where when we didn't do what we were supposed to do, we got punished, and if it was that drastic, then we got our behinds whipped. To be honest about it, and those are the things that made us tougher. Those are the things that made us able to do the things that we've done, able to accomplish the things that we've accomplished. Because as I've said many a time before, prisons weren't built for the people that were born in my generation. But I will say that our generation, my generation, and those that have come immediately after me, we are the ones that are responsible right now for what's going on with these young people. Because of the fact that we didn't want, and I'll put it this way, we made up in our minds that we did not want to raise our children the way that we were raised, because we thought it was so bad. We thought that there were things that didn't need to happen, things that we shouldn't have done, things that shouldn't have been done. We believed that mama and daddy didn't have the right idea as far as what it took to raise us. And so there's a couple of things that happened. One of them was the fact that the government stepped in and said that you can't you can't beat your kids. Well, here's the problem with that. If I whooped your tail, and I'm gonna put it that way, if I whooped your tail and told you that you were not supposed to be messing with that gun cabinet, guess what? You wouldn't be messing with that gun cabinet, let alone going in there getting something out of it in order to go to school to take care of whatever it was that, or whoever it was that you were planning on shooting. Now, some of you may say that what I just said was insensitive, but I'm going to tell you just like this. Truth of it is that the way that I was raised, I was more afraid to do something wrong than I was about anything else. And I knew that I would get praised for the right things that I did, but I also knew that I would be chastised for the wrong things that I did. The other thing that happens, and again, I brought up the video games earlier before, because I don't know if any of you have noticed, but the vast majority of the video games, whether they're the ones that you play on your phone or the ones that that are on Xbox, whatever it is, PS1 or whatever, PS2 or whatever it is, the vast majority of those games are shoot 'em up. So the thing is that as far as our children are, as far as these young people are concerned, the way that every problem gets solved is by pointing a gun at something and shooting it. To be honest about it, that's my understanding of it. At least that's the way that I see it. And I have two younger children, a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I know the games. I've seen the games that are out there, and I don't allow them to play those particular games. They have to find something else to do, something that's going to challenge their mind. So the other part of that is that in my era, one of the things that happened was that we learned how to actually physically defend ourselves. The reason why MMA is so big is because of the fact that these guys actually know how to fight. And the truth of it is that the vast majority of the people that go to these MMA events don't know how to fight. One of the things that happened when we grew up was that when folks had a problem or an issue with each other, what they did was my friend made sure that whoever I happened to be fighting made sure that their friends didn't jump in so that this thing was quote unquote fair. And then after the fight was over, more than likely what ended up happening was a couple of months down the road, we ended up being friends again, or we ended up being friends. But regardless of anything else, win, lose, or draw, we had mutual respect for each other because of the fact that here it was, we did this thing mano y mano, and we did whatever it was that needed to happen in order to take care of this stuff. Well, I'm going to say to you today, to be honest about it, that these kids today do not know how to fight, and their answer for everything is to pick up a gun. That's the answer. But now here's where the problem comes in. That's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that we have adults that have guns in their homes that will not take and have not taken responsibility enough to go out and buy a gun locker that only they have the key to, that only they have the combination to. So these weapons are in these homes, and then these kids are able to go and get them. And like I said, if all I've ever done is played a video game that did shoot 'em up, bang, bang, then my natural, and I've never learned how to actually physically handle myself, then the problem that I have is that everything and every solution that I have when you tick me off is that I'm going to go and point a gun at somebody and then decide to start pulling the trigger. That is a real issue. So the thing is that what I'm saying very simply is this. If we understood that God knew what he was talking about when he said, spare the rod, spoil the child, or when he said that if you beat your child, it wasn't going to kill them. Now, I understand that there is a difference between an actual whipping and child abuse. I understand that. That's why God made the gluteus maximus, so that you had a parent had a real place in order to administer discipline. That's what God made. That's why God made man the way that he did, whether people want to understand that or not. But the bottom line is that because of the fact that folks are more afraid of their children now instead of the other way around, where the child ought to be afraid of the fact that he ought not disappoint his parent, that he ought not disrespect his parent. Therefore, we have what we have going on in this society because of the simple fact that we condoned it. The problem is not the fact that there are guns in the home. That is not the problem. The problem is that the children are running the homes now and not the parents. So when we start dealing with, we really want to deal with the problem, yes, I say ban assault rifles. I say that. And I say that the NRA has no business at all saying that there's nothing wrong with these weapons. There is something wrong with these weapons. If that were the case, then I tell you what, I guess the next thing that the NRA will be saying is that it's okay for everybody to own a bazooka. That's where this thing is going. But that particular thing, those are weapons of war. Weapons of war need not be sold in a store. They should not be readily available to anybody. But as far as this other stuff is concerned, what we need to understand is that the problem is not going to be solved by shutting down or minimizing the number of entrances into a building. The problem is not going to be solved by saying that the problem's not going to be solved any other way except for the fact that there's two things that need to happen. The first one is that there needs to be enough well-paying jobs in this country so that only in a two-parent household, that only one parent needs to work in order to be able to support their family, so that there is a real opportunity for these children to interact not only with their parents, but learn how to interact with each other. That's one of the things that needs to happen. The other thing that needs to happen is parents need to take control of their homes. That's what needs to happen. If you take control of your home and you are the one that is actually making the decisions and the one that is actually in charge, we will find that these things that are happening will not happen any longer. But the thing is that we have to stand up as parents and say that enough is enough as far as the interference that has happened. We need to reverse those decisions that were made. See, the thing is that yes, and I've said this before in this particular broadcast, that yes, there is the issue of child abuse. But child abuse ought not be reported, or ought not be where the child just decides, because he doesn't like what a parent said, pick up the phone and say that my parent abused me. Well, no, the child doesn't, that doesn't even work. So that's why we have what we have. And until we start living in America the way that God intended, this country that was built on biblical principles, until we go back to living according to those principles, we're going to continue to get what we get. The symptom is the fact that we're not dealing with the actual problem. We're talking about dealing with the symptoms. Minimizing doors is dealing with a symptom. It's not going to solve anything. What needs to happen is that we, the adults, need to be in charge. May God bless and keep you, and have a great day.